So you join your hands, close your eyes, and chant Omkar three times. Om. 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 Sairam. So today we will discuss about private, public, and global enterprises. Third chapter of business studies, that is private, public, and global enterprises. As such, private enterprises we have already discussed in chapter number 2. Okay. So now we have to discuss about public enterprises and global enterprises. So public enterprises simply means the enterprises owned, managed, and controlled by the government. No, the enterprises which are owned, managed, and controlled by the government, they are called as public enterprises or public sector enterprises. Global enterprises are those enterprises which operate or which run their activities in many countries of the world, especially two or more than two countries of the world, then they are called global enterprises, commonly known as MNCs or multinational corporations. Okay, so there are two categories we have to discuss here. First one is the public sector enterprises, and second one is the global enterprises. I have already told you that in public sector we have three forms of organization. First is called departmental undertakings. Second are the statutory or legal corporations, and third one is the government companies. Okay, statutory corporation or public corporation, not legal. Statutory corporation or public corporation, and third one is the government companies. So there are three forms of business under public sector. Common features of public sector in general are these public sector enterprises are financed or funded by the government. That's why they are owned by the government. Then they are managed and controlled by the government. Then uh, their revenues are deposited to the government. Government exercise control over these enterprises. Okay, and main purpose of this public sector enterprises was to provide services or facilities to the public, not to earn the profit. Now let us see this. I am presenting the screen. So here is it visible to all of you?
Yes,
Public,
sir.
private, and global enterprises.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So it is public sector enterprises. Introduction. This is the definition. Classification of business enterprises. As India is a democratic economy, the government of India states that business organizations should not aim for profit alone. They also need to fulfill a responsibility towards society. So I have already told the purpose of public sector enterprises was not to earn profit but to provide services to the society. Okay. So on the basis of this enterprises is on the basis of ownership. है ना? On the basis of ownership, business enterprises are classified in two parts: public sector enterprises and private sector enterprises. If a business organization is owned by the government, then it come in the category of public sector enterprises. You know, so if the government is owner, and what is the condition of ownership? If a business is financed, it is funded by government, then it is called a public sector enterprise. and the businesses which are owned by individuals or group of individuals, they are the private sector enterprises. Okay, so public sector and private sector. So in private sector, we have discussed the sole proprietorship, partnership, company, and joint into family business. These multinational corporations are also maybe under private sector as well as in public sector. Some government companies also can operate in many countries of the world, so they also can come in the category of public sector. Sorry, multinational corporations or global enterprises. So in public sector, we have these three forms of organization. First, I said government departmental undertakings. Second are statutory corporations or public corporations, and third are government company. Okay. Now let us see. There is distinction between private and public enterprises. First difference is on the basis of objective. No. So the objective of private sector is to earn profit. Main objective of a private sector unit or private sector enterprise is to earn profit, while the main objective of a public sector enterprise is to work for the society and country or service of the society. Profit is secondary. Ownership, we have already discussed. Private sector enterprises are owned by individual or group of individuals, while public sector enterprises are owned by government, maybe central government or state government or both. So that's why they are owned by the government. Management, definitely private enterprises are managed by private owners, and government enterprises are managed by officers of the government as per the rules set down by the government. Whatever rules are made by the government, the officers concerned have to manage the affairs of public sector enterprises. Capital. Capital is invested by owners, individuals, group of individuals in private sector, and in public sector, mostly the capital is invested by the government. Okay. Freedom of management in private sector, management is more free without any interference, without any government intervention. They can take their own decisions. But in public sector management, they have to follow the government policies. There is a government interference. They are not independent in their decision making. Flexibility or possibility of change in policies, operations, technology, that is more easy in case of in case of private sector. Private sector are free to change anytime their policies, operations, technology, employees, anything can be changed easily. But in public sector, the change is difficult because they have to take the approval from the government or ministry concerned. Then only the changes can be implemented. Areas of operation, private sector work in any field, especially where they see more profits, they operate in that area. But public sector work in the field of social benefit or in public utility services in which private sector is not much interested because of less profitability, like railway services, telecom services, where uh, revenues are less, expenses are more. Then government provided these services to the public by establishing the public sector enterprises. Resources, definitely private sector enterprises has limited resources, but it's not compulsory. Some of them may have many huge resources, but in public sector there are sufficient resources because they are financed by the government. Okay, so these differences are not important. So let us go ahead. This is the definition. What are the public sector enterprises? Meaning of public sector enterprises. Public enterprises means state ownership and operations of industrial, agricultural, financial, and commercial undertakings. So this definition is given by Hansen. But you read this. This is a simple definition. Public sector organizations are owned, managed, and controlled by central or state government. Simple definition. They are called public sector enterprises. The enterprises which are owned, managed, and controlled by central or state government, they are called as public sector enterprises. These organizations provide goods and services to the public at reasonable rates. Okay. and the government is the major shareholder in the organizations. This public sector enterprises characteristics, these are the common characteristics. This is not for any specific firm. So more than 50% of capital is invested in public sector enterprises by government. You know, it is managed by board of directors that is elected by the government. So control lies in the hands of the government. And primary objective of public sector is not to earn profit but to develop the backward regions, generating employment in the country, developing the infrastructure in the country. Okay. Public sector enterprises are accountable to the parliament or government. Okay. So they are supervised by different parliamentary committees. Their funds come from the government. Government provides funds through the budget or issue of bonds or shares. Okay. And they public sector enterprises operate under different conditions, no, like monopoly or semi-monopoly. Nowadays, this monopoly is over except the railway. Earlier, there was a monopoly. Monopoly means a form of business in which there is only one supplier, one seller. That was the monopoly. So earlier, BSNL has a monopoly in field of telecom, and this is monopoly. Telecommunications or telephone services were provided by BSNL only. Air India or Indian Airlines had monopoly in field of civil aviation. Okay, and this monopoly is now over. So because private sector is allowed, so only in railway there is a monopoly of public sector. In all other sectors, there is private sector also competing with the public sector. So this is the objectives of public sector: accelerating economic development, promote self-reliance. Self-reliance means countries should be self-reliant. Uh, Recently, Modi has introduced a new scheme, Atmanirbhar Bharat. So that is a part of the self-reliance. In place of depending on others, we have to produce whatever we need. That is promoting self-reliance, develop the backward areas. So government set up industry in the backward areas, hilly areas where private sector is not interested because of difficult locations. So public sector or government establish industries. Bhilai steel plant or this Gil Vijaypur plant, that is the best example of development of backward regions. So these areas were very backward and government set up the industry so these areas could develop. Huge employment is generated by these public sector enterprises. So that helps in solving the problem of unemployment in the country. It creates and mobilize economic surplus, equalize social economic growth. These all are not main objective. This is first one is the uh, self-reliance, development of backward regions, generate employment, provide public utility services. This may be or there prevent consumer protection. Export. This is not a big region nowadays because it's a competitive market. To provide public utility services, railways, transport services, telecommunication services. These services were provided by the public sector. Defense equipment, it is also exclusively reserved for public sector, but now recently government has opened defense for private sector also. है ना? Now,
क्या है आपको फोन नंबर क्या है
ये बताता हूँ. Now we have in our syllabus these three. No, all that is not in our syllabus. Forms of public sector enterprises. So we have three forms of public sector. As I said, departmental undertakings, statutory corporations, and government companies. So first, we will discuss about departmental undertakings. As I said, departmental undertakings are the oldest forms of public sector enterprises. Okay. These enterprises are established as a part or department of government ministry itself. So there is no separate legal entity. These are not separate from the government. they are the part of the government itself. Okay. Now, in these organizations, employees of these organizations are considered as government employees. You know, so employees of departmental undertakings are they are considered as the central government employees or state government employees as according to the departmental undertaking owned by central government or state government. If a departmental undertaking is owned by central government, employees will be considered as central government employees. Like post office employees are considered as the central government employees. So these employees are regulated by central government services rules. They are all India transferable and the appointment, selection, pension rules are same as per the central government employees. Okay. So characteristics of these departmental undertakings are the funds, first one managed by ministers and government officials. They under they are under direct control of government or ministry concerned, and the minister is the boss of the departmental undertaking. Directly financed by the government treasury. So funds are provided by the government through its budget. Their revenues are deposited to the government treasury. Whatever funds are earned by these departmental undertakings, that is deposited to the government treasury. Okay. So first point you can write the financing or funding. So departmental undertakings are financed or funded by the central government by its budget, and their incomes are the part of government income, and that revenues are deposited to the government treasury. Okay, so all payments are made by the government and all incomes are deposited to the government account or government treasury. Am I audible or not, Sairam?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So first point you
Yes.
can write
Yes,
that is
sir.
the financing. Second is the accounting and audit rules. How do they prepare accounts and what are the audit rules? They are same. They have to follow the same accounting rules and audit rules as per the central government departments. So accounting and audit rules applied to the departmental undertakings are same like the government departments. So same rules are followed for accounting and audit. This third point is given subject to accounting and audit control by the concerned ministries, which are also responsible for all operations. So same accounting and audit rules are followed by departmental undertakings, just like the government departments. Third is the, as I discussed, status of employees. This is a very important point. Out of these three forms, as we discussed, departmental undertakings, statutory corporations, and government companies. Only the employees of departmental undertakings have the status of government employees. Employees of public corporations and government companies, they are not considered as the government employees. They are the public sector employees, but not the government employees. Okay. So employees of these departmental undertakings are uh, government servants, and their recruitment conditions of service are the same as of the other employees directly under the central government. They are added by the Indian Administrative Services officers and civil servants who are transferable from one ministry to another ministry. So they are their terms and conditions of service, recruitment, selection, transfer, promotion, all things are just like the central government employees. Okay. And as central government employees can be transferred any part in the country, all India transfer. So these employees of departmental undertakings are also can be transferred from one part to the other parts. So now you can understand the employees of post office and railway and defense nowadays, because uh, other departmental undertakings are um, not as independent. So railway is working, this post office is working, and defense. So their employees are central government employees, and they follow the same rules as the central government employees. The next one is the control. As I said, this departmental undertakings are considered as the extension of the ministry itself. So they are under direct control of the ministry or government. And the minister concerned is the boss or final authority in that departmental undertaking. And they are accountable to ministry है ना. Okay, and their uh, report is presented in the parliament, and members of parliament can ask the questions about the performance of these departmental undertakings. Okay, these are features you can read from the book. Don't use these points because these are little different than whatever are given in the book. So according to your NCERT book, I am explaining you. So according to NCERT book, the first feature is the, as I said, you can write the points. That is the financing or funding. So the departmental undertakings are directly financed by the government through its budgets. You know, when government present its budget annually, in that budget, government allocates some funds for establishment and expansion of these departmental undertakings. And whatever incomes are earned by the departmental undertakings, that is deposited to the government treasury. Second, I discuss about, you can write the second point, that is accounting and audit rules. So departmental undertakings follow the same audit and accounting rules as per the central government departments. Okay, so they come in the same category. Third point I discussed, that is the status of employees. So employees of departmental undertakings are considered as government servants, or they are the central government employees, and their services are governed by central government employees, term conditions or administrative services, officers and civil servants, uh, jobs of employment act, whatever is the conditions. So same conditions are followed by these employees of the departmental undertakings. Then control, they are under direct control of the ministry because they are the part of the ministry, extension of the ministry. So there is no separate existence of these departmental undertakings. They function as the part of the ministry. That's why minister concerned is the boss of the departmental undertakings. Okay, and mostly the IS officers and other government officials are the bosses in different department undertakings, and they are accountable to the parliament or ministry, and their report can be presented in parliament, and members of parliament can raise the questions on the performance of these departmental undertakings. Okay, any doubt about this to anyone? So I explained you five features. First was the finance or funding, second was the accounting and audit rules, third one is the status of employees, fourth one is the control, and fifth one is the accountability. So they are accountable to the parliament or ministry. Sairam, Sairam.
Yes, sir.
So now the merits and demerits of the departmental undertakings. What are the merits and what are the demerits of departmental undertakings? So these some points are given here, but I will explain mixing with the NCERT points. So first advantage of that, they facilitate effective control by parliament. है ना? Effective control. You can write first point of merits or advantages of departmental undertakings. It facilitates effective control by parliament because minister is the member of the parliament. Minister is the boss of these departmental undertakings, and the performance report of these departmental undertakings is presented in parliament. That's why parliament can exercise effective control over the departmental undertakings. Second one is the high degree of public accountability because these are financed by government out of public funds. So they are responsible to the public. Whatever they do, they are responsible for government or they are responsible for the public. So they are held responsible. So they follow the high degree of public accountability. They try to do everything that is good for the public. Third important advantage of these is the source of income. So profit or income generated by these departmental undertakings is the source of government income. So that increases the government income. As I said, because the incomes or revenues of the departmental undertakings are deposited to the government treasury. So they are one of the sources of government revenue or government income. And fourth one is that it is good form of business where national security is concerned. Okay. So whenever there is a question of national security, we cannot rely on uh, other sources, other forms of organization because of secrecy. That secrecy is maintained, and it is good form of organization for running the defense or national security concerns. You see, most of the defense organizations are established under the departmental undertakings form. Okay, but there are certain limitations also. The lack of flexibility, the first limitation, because the departmental undertakings work, officials of the departmental undertakings work as the set procedures, rules, and they are not willing to take any decision by their own by violating any of these rules. So there is inflexibility in their operations. Then for employees of the they cannot take independent decisions. So there is a delay in decision making. So we can write the next demerit. First one is the inflexibility. Second drawback is the delay in decision making because officers cannot take independent decisions. They have to take approval of the ministry or concerned minister. That takes a lot of time. That leads to the delay in decision making. And because of this delay in decision making, sometimes the departmental undertaking seems to be insensitive to the public needs, because they cannot take the decision when that decision was needed. That's why sometimes it seems that these departmental undertakings are not sensible to the public needs. So because that is not the reason, but the main reason behind it that they are officials are not free to take their decisions like a private sector enterprise, and they have to take the approvals, permissions. That takes a lot of time, and decisions are delayed. Third drawback of these departmental undertakings are this same related decision, related point, that they are not able to what we say take the advantage of business opportunities. Whenever there is opportunity in the market, to avail the business opportunities in the market, it is important that you are able to take quick decisions. As soon as any opportunity is created in the market, you must be able to take quick decisions. But as I said, in these organizations, decisions are delayed, and because of the delayed decisions, whenever uh, opportunity arises and officials cannot take quick decisions, that opportunity is lost. So that's why they are not able to take the advantage of market situations or opportunities arise in the market. There is red tapeism, red tapeism or paperwork. There is a lot of file work or paperwork. Every decision or every what to say file has to pass through many levels of management. Then the final decision can be taken. So a lot of paperwork or file work is involved. That also delays the decision making and actions of the officials in departmental undertakings. And insensitive to consumer needs. This is also blame, as I said, on departmental undertakings, that they are not sensible to the uh, public needs, because the officials are not free to take their decisions. So whenever there is need, they have to take approval. Then only they can act according to the need. That's why there is a blame on the departmental undertakings that they are not sensible to the public sector needs of the public. Okay, so this is first form of government undertakings or public sector undertakings, that is the departmental undertaking. Remaining we will discuss in the next class, but before that I would like to ask you some entries, as I have already told you that you solve the questions and we will discuss it tomorrow. So 2 3 students have sent their entries to me. I have checked their entries. Now, okay. So first we will tell, starting from Aditi Samadhi sent me, है ना? He has solved all the entries correctly. Now after Aditi Samadhi, second number is who is there? Aditi Soni. Aditi Soni, are you there? Aditi Soni. Okay, Aditi Soni is not there. Anuj Singhal. Anuj, are you there? Anuj also not there. Bhumi. Bhumi Jain.
Yes, sir.
So have you solved the entries? Solve the question.
Yes, sir. I tried it.
So tell me what are the entries. No problem. Maybe right, maybe wrong. No problem in that. First entry. Open your video and talk to me. Okay. 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 Bhumi.
On January.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
First entry.
On January 1st, Dinesh started business. So,
Okay.
rupees 3 lakh is credited to his account.
Okay.
Then on 2nd January,
Entry will be, what is the entry? First entry is what? What is the first entry?
cash account.
Jairam. Okay, Daksh has sent me Dibya Khaka. Dibya, are you there?
यस सर
Dibya, yes. Have you solved the question?
सर मैं कल नहीं आई थी क्लास में
Okay, Faiza. Faiza, are you there? Okay. Kanak,
Yes, sir.
so have you solved the question?
Yes, sir.
So tell me the entries. First entry.
Sir, cash account debited to Dinesh account.
Cash account debit to?
Dinesh account.
Okay, cash account debit to capital account. What I said yesterday, when businessman invest money, that is credited to capital account, not in the name of the businessman. So first entry will be cash account debit to capital account. Okay, second entry.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Khushi
Sir.
Gupta, are you there? Khushi Gupta.
Yes, sir.
So do you know these entries or not?
Sir, I'm not attending the class tomorrow.
Okay, okay. Muskan Bhargav. I'm coming one by one. Muskan Bhargav. Have you solved the question? हाँ, tell me the entries.
ट्राई किया था
हाँ जी, कोई बात नहीं, no problem. So tell me the entries.
Yes, sir.
Purvi, Muskan, can you say what are the entries? Purvi,
Yes, sir.
Purvi बताओ.
Yes, sir.
First
Sir,
entry.
first entry, cash account to capital account.
Okay, good. Second entry.
Second entry will be furniture account to cash account.
Furniture account debit to cash account. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Good. Okay. Third entry.
Machine account to Kamal and Sons account.
Kamal and Sons, not account. Machinery account debit to Kamal and Sons. Don't write account in front of the name. Okay, so only Kamal and Sons. Machinery account debit to Kamal and Sons. Okay. Third, next entry.
Sir, purchase account to cash account.
Purchase account debit to cash account. Read like this. Purchase account debit to cash account. Okay. Next entry.
Purchase account debit to Dayal and Sons account.
Only Dayal and Sons. Purchase account debit to Dayal and Sons. Okay. After that.
Dayal and Sons account debit to purchase return.
Okay, very good. Okay. Now Prakhar Maheshwari. Prakhar,
Yes, sir.
are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
एंट्रीज किए हैं आपने सॉल्व किए हैं
हाँ सर करिए ना
बताइए
सर फर्स्ट वन इज कैश अकाउंट टू कैपिटल अकाउंट
ओके
सेकंड अकाउंट वाज फर्नीचर अकाउंट टू कैश अकाउंट
ओके
थर्ड वन वाज मशीन अकाउंट टू कमल एंड सन्स एंड फोर्थ अकाउंट वाज परचेज अकाउंट टू कैश अकाउंट
Hmm.
Fifth account was purchase account to Dayal and Sons.
Good.
Sixth account was Dayal and Sons debited to sales return account.
Okay, good. Vaishnavi Bhargav. Vaishnavi, are you there? So I am making it compulsory after Monday onwards that you must keep your videos open, so you cannot get away from the class. So what is happening that many students join the class and they get away from that place. So it will be compulsory for all of you to keep your videos open throughout the class, so we can know that who is there and who is not there. So many are not there. Okay, in this class. Okay. So now, Vaishnavi Bhargav, are you there? Vaishnavi. Okay, this Shivam Parikh.
Yes, sir.
Tell me the entries.
So first is cash account debit to capital account.
Okay,
Second is furniture debit to cash.
good.
Third is machines debit to Kamal and Sons.
Okay, good.
Fourth is purchase account debit to cash account.
Good.
Fifth is purchase account debit to Dayal and Sons.
Okay.
Sixth is Dayal and Sons debit to purchase return.
Okay, very good. So on Monday I have two classes in your class, है ना? 2 to 240 and 3 to 340, and both the classes are of accountancy. So in that class, in these two classes, we will discuss further more entries. So by that time, you try to solve as many transactions you can solve. Okay, so that's all. Sairam, now let me stop the recording. You can leave. First, me take the
Sir, thank you,
attendance.
sir.
Okay, Sairam,
Sairam, sir, thank you, sir.
Sairam,
Thank you, sir. Sairam.
Sairam, Sairam, Sairam,
Sairam sir, thank you sir.
Sairam, Sairam.